Hi and welcome to the news headlines this hour. Demonstrators marched, stopped traffic and in some cases lashed out violently as protests erupted on Friday in dozens of US cities following a killing of George Floyd after a white officer pressed a knee into his neck while taking him into custody in Minnesota. Georgia's governor declared a state of emergency in one county to activate up to 500 members of the state National Guard to protect people and property in Atlanta. Governor Brian Kemp said in a pair of tweets early on Saturday that the move came at a request of Atlanta's Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and in consultation with emergency officials. The Georgia National Guard will deploy immediately to assist law enforcement, he added. In Minneapolis, where a police precinct was burned the night before, peaceful protests picked up steam as darkness fell, with thousands of people ignoring an 8 p.m. curfew to walk streets in the southern part of the city. Some cars were set on fire in scattered neighborhoods. Business break-ins began and eventually there were larger fires. As a pair of restaurants and a Wells Fargo branch was set ablaze, a heavy contingent of National Guard, state troopers and police moved in, some on foot and some in vehicles. The United Nations agencies are trying to help millions at risk from the conflict in Yemen are nearly broke. UN aid chief Mark Lowcock said on Thursday, announcing a drive to raise some $2.4 billion next week to pay for the world's biggest aid operation. Around 80% of Yemen's population, 24 million people, need aid. The country has been mired in conflict since the Iran-allied Houthi group ousted Yemen's government from the capital Sana'a in 2014. A Saudi-led military coalition intervened in 2015 in a bid to restore the government. The United Nations and Saudi Arabia are hosting a virtual pledging conference for Yemen on Tuesday. There is no way to describe this situation other than alarming, Lowcock said. Is this the world ready simply to watch Yemen fall off the cliff? There are tens of millions of people whose lives are now at risk unless we get not just pledges but the money, he added. Lowcock said the United Nations received $3.2 billion last year for Yemen, but so far in 2020 it has only received $474 million. Saudi Arabia pledged $525 million nearly 2 months ago, and Lowcock said he hoped Riyadh would pay soon. Most of the UN agencies are just a few weeks away from being broke. We have never had so little money for the Yemen aid operation this late in the year, he added. Last year it was well funded essentially because the countries of the region stepped up, and we are hoping that that's going to happen this time. 5 British mercenaries involved in an operation to fly assault helicopters for Libya's renegade General Khalifa Haftar were offered bounties of up to $150,000 each for their role in the daring plot which went awry. The men, comprised of former Royal Marines and RAF personnel, were among 20 foreign mercenaries who travelled to Libya last June in an operation to pilot assault helicopters and speedboats to intercept Turkish ships ferrying weapons to Haftar's opponent, the UN-backed government in Tripoli. The source with knowledge of the secret UN report which revealed the plot told that the men involved were believed on sum of $30,000 to $50,000 a month or $20,000 to $40,000 per month depending on whether you were a pilot or an aircrew man. It was a 3-month contract. Pentagon leaders expressed strong confidence on Thursday that a coronavirus vaccine will be available by January and perhaps as early as this fall, claims that were met with skepticism by scientific experts. Defense Secretary Mark Esper said that he and Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar would be co-chairing Operation Warp Speed, the effort by the administration of President Trump to produce 300 million vaccine doses by January. I am confident that we will be able to deliver a vaccine at a scale in time by partnering with the government agencies and the private sector, Asper said. The Secretary was speaking during a virtual town hall for the military community that also featured Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff Army General Mark Milley and Senior Enlisted Advisor of the Chairman Ramon Colén Lopez. Speaking to what he described as a streaming audience of almost 2 million people, Millis said a vaccine is likely just several months away. We are very confident that a vaccine will be online sometime beginning in the fall, he added. And he also added there a very high confidence level that Operation Warp Speed will achieve its goal to have upward of 300 million doses by the 1st of January. But experts on vaccine development pushed back hard on the Defense Department leader's claim. All of us in the science community are pretty baffled as to how this can happen, said Dr. Kavita Patel, who was a part of the development of a vaccine for H1N1 virus as a senior medical official in the administration of President Barack Obama. Even in a best case scenario in which a vaccine under development shows promises, meeting such an aggressive manufacturing deadline would require bypassing time consuming steps usually required to ensure a vaccine is safe and effective. The resolution, which now passes to China's senior leadership, has caused deep concern among those who say it would end Hong Kong's unique status. It could also see China installing its own security agencies in the region for the first time. The move has already sparked a new wave of anti mainland protests. Clashes broke out on Wednesday as Hong Kong's parliament debated a different proposed law, which would make it a crime to disrespect the Chinese national anthem. Hundreds of people were arrested in protest over that and the security law. Security remains high on Thursday as a tense debate in the Legislative Council continues. At least two pre democracy legislators were ejected from the council on Thursday. One lawmaker, Ted Hui, threw rotten plants on the floor of the chamber, saying it symbolized the decay of Hong Kong's political system. I want the speaker to feel what is meant by rotten, he added. The speaker deemed the package to be an unknown dangerous object and called police and fire crews. This is Jyoti reporting for Our Voice.